Good afternoon from the Circus Sports of the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Ross Johnston. In a wild NFL move, Tom Pelissero reported that the Vikings are firing general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, who has held that position with Minnesota since 2022. The Vikings also announced that longtime executive Rob Brzezinski will handle all of their operations for the 2026 draft. We've got a top 10 rivalry matchup tonight in college hoops with number 7 Michigan State hosting number 3 Michigan in East Lansing at 7 p.m. And tomorrow, Tennessee and Vanderbilt both host SEC matchups. The number 18 Commodores will face off against 11-9 Ole Miss in Nashville with tip set for 5 p.m. And the Vols will look for their third straight win as they face off with Auburn in Knoxville. Tip-off is scheduled for 7:30 p.m. Central, and you can listen to Vol Network's broadcast of the game right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repair, waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome in to Cover 2 on 104.5 The Zone. I'm Joseph Bonanno alongside me as he walks into the studio, safe and sound, the hitman Blaine Bishop. I know he was dealing with some traffic out there as people continue to drive around as the ice and roadways start to clear up. Hopefully, those will be cleared up by next week and we can start moving past. I know there's still plenty of people without power around the Nashville area, and so we're hoping you guys can eventually get out of that and get power back and get some heat back in your homes. And so we're thinking about those without power. Thanks to the NES for all they're doing to try and get this back on. I know it's difficult when that much happens in such little time. So right before we went on air, I think we found the reason why I don't do this very often. And I'm going to show the camera here because this is insane. If you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, the mic that I typically use in this seat completely just snapped off the mount arm that it hangs on. Literally 2 minutes before we went on air. So I am now using the Buck Rising mic, the one he uses while sitting in the seat because he doesn't want to use the one everyone else uses because he's got to be different. Isn't that right, Bueno?
He's his own, yeah.
So I will now be using the Buck Rising mic today because until our great engineering department and Mike Buckner can come and fix this because it's toast. You know, this happened in the control room a few weeks ago, and I was the one that did it too. So I think I might be like too strong for my own good.
You even stop lifting weights, man.
The thing, I mean, I don't even
push-ups you're doing at night, man.
It must be. I gotta stop eating my Wheaties. I think that's what it is.
Wheaties, okay, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You got so excited about the hire there with
You
Saleh.
know what? That's right. After hearing from, I told 3HL this. After hearing from Saleh, I wanted to run through a brick wall. And so I guess instead of running through a brick wall, I'm just ripping things apart and breaking stuff in the studio, which is a good thing to do right before you go on air.
Yeah. Well, Ross is the only one in here lifting heavy weights, so.
I ain't lifted in a while. Blaine, you must have been moving to get over here when you texted about being near Concord.
I was at Concord. It was some wreck, but once it cleared, once I got through and navigated, it was smooth sailing because everybody else was probably running behind too, so they was in a rush. So it was. Whew.
Well, we're glad you're here, and we're glad you're safe. And it wasn't a bad wreck, was it?
Not that you saw? I don't know because it was two back to back, so it kind of probably was bad.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, we hope everyone over there is
fires
safe.
Or anything.
Okay,
Yeah,
good,
so,
good. That's might be too
just
cold.
Cars and smashed.
Just a little bumper to bumper rear ending situation
like
there. So, well, we heard from Robert Saleh yesterday. We heard his introductory press conference, and we're going to get a little bit more reaction to that, especially when we speak with Jordan Dejani from CBS Sports coming up at 1:20. We'll also go around the NFL with him. We'll talk about all the things that have happened, including the news that came out just a little while ago, which is probably one of the more shocking news breaks of the offseason, is that the Vikings have fired their general manager almost a month after the season. I mean...
And less than a year after giving him an extension.
And less than a year after giving him an extension. I mean, they're a little behind the 8 ball here, Blaine. Don't you think?
Yeah, that was a little surprising here. I don't think they're going to hire a GM. I think they have someone who's interim who's been with the organization for a long time.
And he's been at the Senior Bowl all week, Blaine.
Correct. So there's no way they can catch up and try to hire. Yeah, so they're just going to play it as they're probably through the draft and then see where they're at then.
I mean,
I wonder what happened. Like, when something like this happened, it was last minute, like finding out something that you didn't know. Like, firing at this point in time. Like, if you knew you were going to go down this road as an organization, you knew this probably at the end of the season, right?
Potentially, because I will say the drafts under Kwesi have not been great for Minnesota.
Do you have those pulled up in front of you?
I can find them. Essentially,
yeah, but why would you wait till now, though?
That's a good question. And, he's been at the Senior Bowl all week, so why would you even send him there?
Yeah, I'm like, if you were going to make this move and you look at his drafts, that's easy to do. You could do that, maybe right before the season's up or at the end of the season. Like when everybody else was getting rid of their GMs. Yeah. Well, maybe they're comfortable in their number 2. And that, maybe that's what happened.
I
don't know.
I think the obvious draft that you can point out for the Vikings is in 2024 when they spent the 10th overall pick on J.J. McCarthy. And we've kind of seen how that's worked out. Obviously, in his rookie year, had the knee injury, I believe, missed the entire season. They were able to get Sam Darnold, which this might be an element to too. You had Sam Darnold on the roster playing well, wins you 14 games, and you don't bring him back because you want to go with your first round rookie who hasn't done anything in the NFL. And now look where Sam Darnold is versus where J.J. McCarthy is. J.J. McCarthy had a very up and down year, not only with injuries, but with his production on the field. Didn't look good in some games, looked okay in some others, but then you have on the other side Sam Darnold, who looked like an MVP candidate for most of the season and is now playing for a Super Bowl with his new team that you just didn't sign.
Just like you predicted, right, about Sam Darnold?
Like you predicted. Like you predicted. I'm going to give you the credit on that.
Because you just don't know sometimes, especially you just got to live with the talent. Hopefully he gets with the right team. If he's in the right headspace, most of those guys end up turning it around. Baker Mayfield, all those guys, they're super talented. I don't know if J.J. McCarthy, maybe that was a stretch on taking him that high. But I can't believe how he's not progressed a little bit ahead of where he's at. I know he missed a year with the knee injury. But also, where was that on the coaching staff? O'Connell, hey, what do you actually think about him now? And maybe that's where the rubber meet the road. And they just said, hey, this guy isn't the guy. And then that falls on the GM's plate, man. And then seeing Sam Darnold, I think you may be on some, conspiracy theory with the Sam Darnold. We had him right here in house. We should have just kept him. But, and then they draft Darnold.
So I'm looking at that.
So these drafts,
they're bad.
Since Mintz they have not been great, to say the least. And honestly, the McCarthy draft was maybe the best one because they got Dallas Turner. Will Reichard has been a pretty good kicker for them so far.
Okay.
But other than that, it's pretty... 2023, they had
McCarthy hasn't.
Yeah, he hasn't.
Out, so that
2023, all they really got was Jordan Addison.
And we see how that's working out right now with his off the field stuff. Yeah.
This past year, I would say.
On field is all right.
This past year, I would say it's too early to tell because they've only had 1 year, right? 2022, they had 10 picks. Their first round pick, Lewis Seen, safety out of Georgia's in the UFL right now.
Oh.
And Jalen Naylor is, I think, the only guy out of the rest of the draft contributing for them, and he only had 13 receptions this year.
You know what this sounds like? This sounds like the Titans drafts over the last couple years, not the last 2 years, but
late Robinson drafts.
The late Robinson drafts where you had all those misses. That's what this is starting to lean to. Now, I look at that 2024 draft where they drafted J.J. McCarthy 10th overall. I'm just going to read you some names that they could have drafted instead of J.J. McCarthy. Bo Nix, who went at 12 to the Broncos. Brock Bowers, who went at 13 to the Raiders. They got Dallas Turner at 17. Jared Verse for the Rams, who went at 19. Quinion Mitchell, who went at 22 for the Eagles. Brian Thomas Jr. went at 23 to the Jags. Terrion Arnold, who went 24 to the Lions. Graham Barton, who is a center, but played really well. Xavier Worthy at 28. I mean, Ricky Pearsall at 31. I mean, there were some dudes in this first round of the draft, and they took the swing on J.J. McCarthy over Bo Nix in terms of just that position-wise as a quarterback, but over some really talented players. And then they put their entire future on him by not re-signing Sam Darnold after the 2024 season. I mean, I could see why ownership in Minnesota would be upset with him as a general manager and what he's done.
Yeah, I have no problem with any of that. I mean, I'm just the timing. You knew that way before now. Nothing has changed since the season's over. So I don't know. Maybe when they started talking about the draft and maybe they got into detail, like, hey, none of these guys are on the team. I mean, they were higher picks, top 3 rounds.
I wonder if they were like getting into draft stuff and they started looking at quarterbacks.
I was going to say, I had a QB conspiracy about it.
Oh, yeah?
That maybe they want to try bringing it. Kevin O'Connell maybe wants to bring in a veteran again. And Quessie's like, we need to ride with the young guy.
I'm going to say
conspiracy. Even more.
Hold up. I'm going to say this. Do you know what broke yesterday or last night?
What?
It broke that the Falcons were planning on releasing Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that you would think.
Where was Kirk Cousins before he was in Atlanta?
Did he get released?
Not officially.
Not yet.
But the report came out, and I can't remember. I want to credit whoever had that. But the report came out that Kirk Cousins was planning on being released by the Falcons. This from Yahoo Sports and The Athletic. Falcons quarterback Kirk Cousins expected to be released. He'll be 38 years old heading into his 15th season.
Which that's not much of a shot. They're going to have to eat that cap situation at some point.
But I'm
But
just
do
saying.
you think they should have kept Kirk Cousins and all of that would have never happened, even with the Sam Darnold?
I don't know if they should have kept him or not, but I just think that drafting McCarthy was a mistake. Now, like, it's interesting, though, because, Joseph, you read off all those names, and I hear what you're saying, because all those guys are better than McCarthy. But if you think you need a quarterback, really the only other name is Bo Nix. But still.
Or go sign Sam Darnold, who's already been in Minnesota, has started to lay the foundation there, and showed he could do it, showed he had success. And now you're kind of stuck in this situation with J.J. McCarthy because are you going to move on from your first-round quarterback after really just 1 year? Because his first year, I know contract-wise it's been 2 years, but
he's injured, yeah.
Man, that's a sticky situation up in Minnesota because now, man, like you said, Blaine, you better have someone on that staff that you can pull in because you're a little too late in the game to go be GM hunting.
Yeah, their number 2 must be really strong and can hold the fort.
Well, I think they would probably, main thing would be, are him and the coach on the same page? Because I would imagine this moves Kevin O'Connell into even more of a role in terms of drafting and, what their scouting process looks like this year. But, Blaine, don't you think with these guys like Kevin O'Connell, Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, it's hard to know because we're not there in the buildings, but do you think they have great input into a team that's drafting a quarterback, like when the Packers got Jordan Love, like when the Niners got, Trey Lance or Purdy? Do you think these offensive guys have great input?
Oh, yeah. So that's why you don't know, who's to blame. Did, the coach O'Connell really want McCarthy? I mean, we don't know. And the GM may have wanted Bo Nix, but we see who gets fired. I mean, I don't know. Because sometimes the tea leaves doesn't tell you, what really happened. Somebody may get fired, it's kind of damage control. Just like Deshaun Payton fired the quarterback's coach.
I think
come on,
I think they did that to keep Davis Webb from going to the Raiders. I genuinely think that was
he was just a quarterback's coach, though.
No, they fired their offensive coordinator. It was the coordinator. It was the pass game. So the pass game coordinator, Davis Webb, who was interviewing for the Raiders head coach job, who then pulled himself out of that running yesterday, I'm pretty sure that they fired the OC to keep that guy because I really think that guy's the connection between Peyton and Bo Nix. Now, I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but Bo Nix actually called a Zoom press conference for himself to address the ankle injury. And he actually called out Sean Payton for talking out of his ass, essentially saying, hey, I don't know why he's talking about how many ankle injuries I've had. He doesn't know that. I don't know why he's divulging that information to y'all. He doesn't know anything about that. Because Sean Payton said that Bo Nix was predisposed to ankle injuries because he's had some in the past. And Bo Nix was I don't know why he's saying that. Publicly called him out in a press conference. So there might be a little rift there, and this Davis Webb. Now I'm being conspiracy theorist right now. The Davis Webb guy might be the glue in between Peyton and Bo Nix, and they really wanted to keep him.
Why is Sean Payton saying that?
Well,
whether it's true or not, I just wanted to know. Most coaches are just ingrained not talking about guys' injuries. So it's almost like he's still trying to make excuses for why they're losing.
I question a lot of things Sean Payton does,
Sean Payton,
to be honest with you.
He's a different cat. Man.
Do y'all remember when he took the job and he talked bad about Nathaniel Hackett? Yeah. It's almost like I'm giving myself a little safe landing if stuff goes bad this first year because of how bad the last guy was, which every coach that comes in is going to think the last guy was horrible. Right. That was here or whatever, just kind of is what it is. Yeah, but this makes me think with the Vikings, Joseph, that it's got to be they're looking at the rest of the drafts as a whole instead of just McCarthy. Because I say that to say, look at the roster this year and how bad the quarterback play was. They went 9-8, and they would have made the playoffs if the NFC North wasn't as good of a division as it was as a whole. Kevin O'Connell got them to 9-8.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
they have themselves a leader at head coach. The quarterback situation's been iffy with J.J. McCarthy, and I think in this league, it's a quarterback-driven league. You don't have the quarterback right, you're not going anywhere. I mean,
that means they have no belief that he can get it right.
It's what it feels like.
But they're not in position to get somebody this year.
No, they're not.
Right, that's why they have to sign Kirk Cousins.
And it's not even a good enough draft for you to go, trade up for somebody. What
are you trading up for?
Ty Simpson? No. Because unless you offer an absolute haul to the Raiders, I doubt they're coming off of number one with Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, and the only chance you'd have is with the Jets because they've got a lot of capital.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But where the Jets are at right now, when they're in this whole rebuild, do you think Aaron Glenn's going to want them to draft anyone other than a quarterback at 2 if they stay there?
I just don't think that. We could talk a little bit more. I don't know if Ty Simpson's worth the second overall pick because he hasn't played as much. Look at the last couple of guys that haven't, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are outliers in terms of experience in college and then coming in the NFL. But then again, Josh Allen kind of fumbled his way through the rookie season before he figured it out. And Patrick Mahomes sat for a year behind a really good quarterback in Alex Smith at the time before he really took over. Ty Simpson's one of those guys that is kind of like Anthony Richardson, where you just haven't had a ton of starts in college. You just haven't done it. Now, I think Ty Simpson's better than Anthony Richardson, but just the experience. Quarterbacks that don't have a lot of experience.
That's always a big debate. Josh Allen, what are you talking about when he was in college?
At Wyoming.
He started the whole time he was there.
I thought he didn't. I thought he didn't have a ton of starts.
But that's the thing, though.
But there is a stat that if you don't start a lot in college at quarterbacks, you have most of those guys don't have success. But I think Ty Simpson just looks so much different to me. I feel like when I watch him that this wasn't his first year as a true starter. And because of how he went through his progression reads, his game, whoever's taught him, whether it's his dad or quarterbacks coach, whoever, he looks more advanced than a guy who just started this year as the true starter. So I'm gonna just take that with it. And scouts got to have a feel for that, and and maybe a little more risk averse than I would be. So I think Ty Simpson is, I think I would have no problem moving up to 2. Watch this. He's better than J.J. McCarthy. See, he went 10. So you start just looking at it and you go, well, dang, this guy's a better player than this player. So we can't get caught up in the semantics of what's happened in the past. if we go with our gut, if you do your work, your background on the player, you just got to believe in it. Richardson he was a true super talent that was up and down throughout his career. By the way, he threw for 300 something versus Tennessee. Then the next week, he throws for like 100. I mean, it's just like, it was crazy. He looked insane versus Tennessee. Then the next week, he looked horrible. So Ty Simpson, to me, was consistent. Even though there was games where the team wasn't playing well, he still, man, he was a trooper. He was a battle. I thought he was mentally tough. Not just physically, and he has the tools. And he's a way better athlete than I thought he was. Yeah, Ty Simpson looks good, man.
We can ask about Ty Simpson. We can ask about the Vikings and the Bo Nix situation with Sean Payton. We can ask Jordan Dejani of CBS Sports coming up next as we will go around the NFL. You're listening to Cover 2, brought to you by All Four Seasons Garage Doors.
The legendary coach Lou Holtz once said, before people spend money, they ask 3 questions. Can I trust you? Are you committed to excellence? And do you care about me? Hey, friends, it's Blaine Bishop for Eurofix. And Eurofix has built its business on answering those 3 questions with a bold yes. So back in 1999, owner Aaron Stokes was by himself with a 1-car garage in downtown Franklin. And a few months later, Aaron moved to a shop in a barn behind his house so he could stay close to his family while building his dream of offering the best service on European vehicles at below dealer pricing. And fast forward to today, and that barn's long gone, and Eurofix is thriving with 5 locations in Tennessee, Nashville, Franklin, Bellmead, Murfreesboro, and Mount Juliet, and more to come, I'm sure. Yes, it will be. And all work comes performed with a 3-year, 36,000-mile nationwide warranty, plus a rental car available with every appointment. So go ahead and ask yourself, can you trust us? Do we care? And are we committed to excellence? And I think you'd say yes when you see how we treat you. So call and book today at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always call 844-EUROFIX. Always 844-EUROFIX.
I don't mean to alarm anyone when I bring attention to this, but there are flurries falling from the sky outside, which I don't know why.
You just had people crash on the side of the road.
Yeah, that's what we need, Joe. Some more of that.
I mean, what are we doing here? We just did a week of this. We don't need any more.
It's just really light flurries. So.
That's how it starts, Blaine. I just want it to go away. Just go away. Bring the sun back out. I need summertime. Spring and summertime. Well, I'll stop scaring everybody by talking about the flurries, and we'll scare some people by talking about what in the world's going on in the NFL as Jordan DeJaney of CBS Sports joins us now. Jordan, I hope you had a safe and hopefully warm week.
What's going on, guys? Help. It's snowing at my house. I'm done with this. I'm sick of this. What's going on? How are we doing this week?
Good. Did you lose power at all this week?
Dude, somehow by the grace of God, I did not lose power. I'm very gracious for that. I'm very blessed. I know there's a lot of people out there like, I don't know, Lucas Panzica, who have not had power for a long time. So my thoughts are with you guys, but we are staying warm up here in Hendersonville.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Well, I'll kick things off by asking about the news that dropped today. The Vikings fired their general manager, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, kind of out of the blue and a little late into the process. What do you know there?
Yeah, this was absolutely shocking to me, but the national reporters are saying that there was considerable tension in the building behind the scenes. But it feels shocking to me because it feels like yesterday that they handed him an extension. And that extension came after they parted ways with Sam Darnold. I think the multi-year extension came in May of 2025. And listen, when it comes to this situation, it's very easy to point to Sam Darnold being the reason why Sam Darnold was allowed to leave the building, and now he's taken the Seahawks to the Super Bowl. You know, why did the Vikings allow him to leave the building? And maybe they missed on J.J. McCarthy. But I would point out that the Vikings had just one losing season in Kwesi's 4 years as general manager. I'll also point to the draft classes not being very good. I know the Vikings had limited picks this past draft, but he did not hit on a lot of draft picks. And the most important one, of course, is their quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. But due to the timing of this firing, I will point to it probably being something that happened behind the scenes. Again, the considerable tension behind closed doors. But here's the thing. The Vikings are going to wait until after the draft to do their whole general manager search. Their vice president of football operations, Rob Burzensky, I think is how you pronounce his name, will handle the draft. And they also promoted 2 assistant general managers back in June with Ryan Grigson and Demetrius Washington.
Oh.
Well, it's definitely an interesting situation, firing a general manager this late into the process. But going on what's been, I guess, the biggest news cycle around the NFL is this coaching cycle. 10 openings, only 2 remain. The most recent one being the Browns with, I guess I would say, a very uninspiring hire in Todd Monken. What do you know there with what Cleveland did to make their next hire?
Yeah, Todd Monken comes over from Baltimore. He was the offensive coordinator for 3 seasons, I believe, and I think he helped that unit score the 3rd most points in the NFL over that span. But he's well-traveled and he's well-experienced. He was a former Georgia offensive coordinator, 2-time national champion there. He was also with the Cleveland Browns in 2019, helping Nick Chubb have a really successful season, work with the Buccaneers as well. So, uninspiring may be a descriptor that some people are using. It was a little surprising to me because it seemed like some momentum was working towards Jim Schwartz being hired in that role. And it looked like Cleveland wanted to hire Todd Monken and keep Jim Schwartz. It doesn't seem very likely that that's going to happen right now. But I'll tell you, man, I haven't minced words when I've talked about the Browns job. It just seemed like one of the more unattractive jobs in the NFL this cycle with ownership, with the quarterback situation. I know they have an elite defense, but there's a lot of question marks with what Cleveland's going to do moving forward. So Todd Monken is an offensive mind. He's an experienced one at that, and we'll just have to see what happens.
We're on with Jordan DeJaney of CBS Sports.
On that same note with the Brown, kind of take us through how coaches can get out of their contract, and I'm talking about Schwartz. I'm sure it's happened before, it just doesn't happen very often. I guess we could say Callahan, offensive line coach, got out of his contract to a certain extent. So kind of take us through what the rules and regulations are when it comes to coaches want out of a contract, or how do they still get paid if they say, I'm just not going to show up?
Yeah, that's a good question. And my question to you would be, why would you want to keep Schwartz in the building if he doesn't want to be there? Because he was a finalist for this head coaching job, right? So to bring him back where he's already got his side with his defense and those players who probably wanted him hired, and now you have to establish this new chain of command with Todd Monken coming in, it doesn't seem like it's really great for chemistry. So you have to understand why the Browns want to keep him in the building, because he's a talented defensive mind. But given how everything shook out and how much Jim Schwartz wanted this job and thought he was going to get it, I don't think it's good for the organization to want to hold him captive. So it's probably in the best interest for both sides to move on, and the Browns can allow him to do that.
Will they get compensation, or they won't get anything?
Well, I'm sure that every contract is different. So I'm not 100% sure what his says with that, but I know that they can let him go if they want to.
Well, now to your team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, got to get your thoughts and what the fans are thinking with McCarthy. And for a hometown guy who's a fan growing up, doesn't know if that makes everybody feels all comfy and everything else. But what are your thoughts, and let alone what do the fans in Pittsburgh think?
Yeah, some mixed feelings with this hire, because Mike McCarthy is obviously a good head coach. He's someone who has won basically everywhere he's been. He's a Super Bowl winning head coach. But there was a lot of people in Pittsburgh that were ready to embrace the rebuild that felt like was coming, right? Because it seemed like Mike Tomlin, as one of the best coaches in the NFL, was able to do a lot with a little when it came to this roster and the quarterback carousel that Pittsburgh was perennially on, it felt like. So it seemed like there's a large contingent of the fan base that was excited to hire a young defensive mind like Chris Shula, or a young offensive mind, and kind of start over and rebuild this new face of the Steelers franchise. You don't exactly do that with an older head coach like Mike McCarthy, and it goes against the hires that Pittsburgh has made the last 2 times, I believe. The last few coaches the Steelers have hired have been young defensive coordinators with 0 head coaching experience. Mike McCarthy is the exact opposite of that. But with all that being said, Mike McCarthy is someone who knows how to do this job and knows how to keep a franchise on track. And I will say it's going to be really interesting to see what happens at the quarterback position, because Aaron Rodgers, it always felt like he was going to be retiring this offseason. But now that Mike McCarthy holds that position of head coach, could there be some mutual interest with Aaron Rodgers returning?
We shall see. And I guess lastly, with as far as coaching hires, what is Arizona doing? I heard Ron Rivera's name. Is this true? Or, I mean, what is going on here? Are they just trying to leverage other, I guess, potential head coaches there?
Yeah, I think I did see that. I think Ron Rivera maybe have gotten an interview. I'm not 100% sure. But I think the favorite that I've heard is probably Mike LaFleur from the Rams as potentially being the favorite. There's been a lot of talk about the Las Vegas Raiders, not so much about the Arizona Cardinals, but they do get the benefit now since the carousel has kind of stopped spinning. They get the benefit of kind of sitting back and taking another long look at their options, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, well, everybody's talking about, I guess, what is it? Kubiak is the home run hire for the Raiders. I guess that's why I didn't really want to address it, because there's connections there with Kubiak, I guess his dad.
Yeah, and I mean, I like Clint Kubiak. I'll point back to, I think it was 2024 when he was the Saints offensive coordinator. Remember when the Saints scored 91 points over their first 2 games of the season before injuries kind of really ruined that season? I thought that was impressive. And then he jumps on with the Seahawks. Obviously, now they're in the Super Bowl. They ranked 3rd in points per game. They were top 8 in yards per game, 6th in yards per play. I really liked how the Seahawks offense operated, right? Because it was about relying on the running backs with Zach Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker, hitting your downfield shots to Jackson Smith and Jigba, trying to get Sam Darnold to be as efficient as possible and keeping the game off of his shoulders. So I really liked how the Seattle Seahawks operated in general this season. And yeah, now that this coaching carousel has kind of stopped spinning, it does feel like he's the favorite to end up with Tom Brady in Vegas.
Oh, and where are we at with the Eagles? One of my former teams there with their OC. The main
Sean Mannion. Yeah, this has been like maybe the more shocking story that I've seen this offseason, because if I was like this young offensive mind, or even an experienced offensive mind at that, I would have looked at the Eagles offensive coordinator job as one of the best jobs, because I get to call plays there and be handed the keys to a Lamborghini, right? One of the most high-powered offenses, full of talent. I get to work with Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, all these guys. But, there is a lot of underlying drama, and I think there was reports coming out about Jeff Stoutland's role when it comes to being a run game coordinator too. But Sean Mannion, fans will remember him as a backup quarterback for the Rams and the Vikings. But he's only been coaching for 2 years, I think, and really in an official capacity for 1 season as the Packers quarterbacks coach. So he's never been an offensive coordinator. He's never called plays. And again, he's being handed keys to one of the most talented offenses in the NFL. So it seems like he might have been the 15th different option for the Eagles to go down the line. I don't know if the fan base is necessarily inspired by this hiring, but by all accounts, this has been a young assistant that is ready for this chance. So there's a lot of pressure on this guy to basically win a Super Bowl and be an offensive coordinator for a Super Bowl winning offense immediately.
Why do you think it was so difficult to find the right fit there?
Blaine, I don't know, man. I don't know. I told you, I thought this would have been one of the more attractive offensive coordinator openings. I know that Nick Sirianni doesn't seem like the coolest boss in the world. I know Jalen Hurts has some deficiencies. I know there's drama with A.J. Brown. But if I was confident in my abilities as a coordinator, I feel like I could come in and right the ship, have the ability to call plays, implement my system, and get the most out of all that talent in the city of brotherly love.
No doubt about it. We're on with Jordan DeJani, info writer for CBS Sports. You guys.
Jordan, yesterday, Robert Saleh was introduced as the Titans head coach, spoke with the media for the first time, did some other media things as Titans fans finally got to hear from him. What did you take from what you heard from Robert Saleh yesterday when he was introduced?
Hey, man, I thought he was going to come out more fiery, right? I thought he was going to come out and say Liam Cohen was never going to win the AFC South again. I thought he was going to start snapping microphones in half like Joseph does in the 104.5 The Zone studios.
Yeah,
but I got 3 major takeaways from Robert Saleh. One is that I loved what he said about Kyle Shanahan's fingerprints being all over the league in terms of offensive schematics. And Robert Saleh, as a defensive mind, has been able to pick up on that when he studies other teams. And I'm paraphrasing here a bit, but Robert Saleh said sometimes it can seem like a lot of these teams have similarities with their schematics. And he said that Brian Daboll, when he comes in, is not going to be like that. The offensive game plan is going to change from week to week, and it's going to be tough to figure out the Tennessee Titans. That's what I like to hear. Number 2, the succession plan at offensive coordinator. I think that Robert Saleh dropped that, they will be developing all of their assistant coaches, of course, but it almost sounded like someone could be promoted from within if Brian Daboll balls out and becomes a head coach again. Maybe that could be Shea Tierney, the quarterback's coach coming over from the Giants. And number 3, this is an important one and maybe something that not everyone picked up on, but regarding Cam Ward, Robert Saleh is going to take him, quote unquote, all the way back to the beginning. He's going to mold his quarterback as if he's a rookie through this offseason when it comes to how do you prepare? How do you game plan mentally and physically? Robert Saleh is going to make Cam Ward his and start from the beginning when it comes to molding the kind of star he's going to be for the Tennessee Titans.
Jordan, what do you think with Robert Saleh and the hype around him coming to Nashville? Do you think that there's any way the Titans could be like one of these Chicago Bears or New England Patriots or Jacksonville Jaguars in 2026, where you go from 0 to hero within one offseason?
It's all going to come down to what happens in free agency and what happens in the draft as well. That's what's going to determine if that happens, because we know the leadership is in place now and there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic. I think Robert Saleh is the emotional leader you want in your locker room, and he absolutely objectively is one of the best defensive minds in the NFL as well. I'm excited to see him call plays and get the most out of that defensive unit at large. Brian Daboll, that's kind of a question mark. It seems like a lot of people are really excited about this hire, and I can understand why. He's certainly experienced. He's coached at a lot of different levels, called a lot of different plays in a lot of different systems. So I think Brian Daboll and what he does with Cam Ward in terms of the scheme that he wants to implement is going to be another crucial X factor for what this Titans team can accomplish in 2026. But I will say this, when it comes to the goals for the Titans, and I know it's incredibly early to be talking about this, but I just want to see the franchise have some stability. I want to say with confidence that they are on the right track. That's what I want to see through the course of this offseason and as they set up for what's going to come.
Tom Brady. Joe Brady. Joe Brady was hired as is he related to Tom Brady? Is that why he got the job? Now, what were your thoughts on Joe Brady getting the job at the Bills?
Oh, man, I got a lot of thoughts on Joe Brady. So the Bills made this controversial decision to fire Sean McDermott, who oversaw what I think is fair to call a perennial contender. And when you do that, you're telling your fan base that you're going to go out there and bring in someone who can get you over the hump. So at face value, it's underwhelming to promote a guy in-house. But if we ignore that context for just 1 second, I think Joe Brady could be a good hire. Like, his offense finished number 4 in the NFL, and he had a direct hand in what was the number 1 rushing offense as well. It bothers me when people say that he's coasting off the 2019 LSU season, because why are we ignoring what happened in 2023 when Joe Brady was promoted to offensive coordinator following the firing of Ken Dorsey and everything got better? He upped pre-snap motion. He improved yards per play. And that's when James Cook became a legitimate star as well. Buffalo started the year 5-5 in 2023 and ended 6-1 with Joe Brady. And then in 2024, we all know Josh Allen won MVP without his number 1 wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, and Buffalo averaged a franchise second best 30.9 points per game as well. So Joe Brady has had a direct hand in helping the Bills reach this status of being a contender. And here's one more thing I'll say about this, is that pressure is not going to only be placed on Joe Brady, but Brandon Beane and the Bills organization as a whole, right, for this decision to fire Sean McDermott. And I believe that this could lead to a change in philosophy, right? I think Joe Brady is pushing for a change in philosophy. I think the Bills might go out there and try to score at wide receiver this offseason, which is something the fan base has been clamoring for. So it's certainly a gamble to promote a guy like Joe Brady, but he dominated his introductory press conference. He clearly has a deep connection with his players. So he's the new CEO, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Well, Jordan, I hope you're staying warm as the snow flurries start to flutter down once again here in Nashville. And we'll hope you have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you next week as we'll get into the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Appreciate you, Jordan. That was Jordan DeJani of CBS Sports. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll dive a little bit more into what we saw from, or what we heard from Robert Saleh yesterday. If you guys want to get in and share your thoughts on what you heard from Robert Saleh, 615-737-1045. This is Cover 2, brought to you by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Welcome back into Cover 2 on 104.5 The Zone, brought to you by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Joseph Bonanno, Blaine Bishop, and the 104.5 The Zone Circus Sports Studio. Circus Sports, Kentucky's largest sportsbook, can be found at the Mint Kentucky Downs. Blaine, now that you've had a full 24 hours to sit on the Robert Saleh presser and all the media things he did afterwards, what do you feel about what he said in his introduction to the city? Or how do you feel about it, I should say? Not what do you feel, but how do you feel about it after the 24 hours of sitting on it?
I just think he's a born leader, and I think he has succession plans for every scenario, especially after, failing at his first go-round as a head coach. So I think he knows what's at stake, and he's just as, I'm going to put it this term, desperate to prove that he deserves that shot and putting the Titans back on the map as much as desperate as the organization, and myself included, wants to see them win. So it's a win-win all the way around. So I think it'd be good, but we got to still see it, man. I'm excited. I think this is great. I just want to see the staff come together, and then I want to see them in action. One thing that I love, he kept talking about, I guess, he didn't say it the way I would say it, but he was talking about fundamentals and teaching the players and the coaches. I think I believe in that a lot, because I know what I had to have to help me become the player I was. And I think it's kind of be on a lost art now, especially with all these trainers, individual trainers. And it's kind of, some of these guys are a little more, let's say trainers are a little more advanced than even some of the coaches. But you got to stick with the fundamentals. Some guys get a little confused because the coaches in the league are teaching them a little bit different than their personal trainers. So then it becomes a conflict, and you start hesitating and guessing and trying to say, okay, which way is the right way? So I'll be interested. And then also he talked about, Cam starting from the beginning, from the ground up. So foundation is always about your legs when you're the quarterback in any position. So your legs are an extension of your arm. So we'll see how that progresses and how much better Cam is going to have an uptick, even without, new coaches and them coaching him up. He should have an uptick just on his knowledge of the game and how everybody approached him to try to, slow him down.
Cam kind of gives off that, and I don't want to put this the wrong way, but a little stubborn in his ways a little bit. And maybe not in terms of like learning his mechanics and learning playbook and stuff like that, but he kind of knows what kind of player he is, and he knows what he likes to do. And I feel like a little bit of last year was, I don't know if he really was meshing with the coaching staff well, the offensive coaching staff well, and maybe there was a little bit of tension there. And
what would make you say that?
Like on the field, just the little frustrations that kind of came out throughout the season.
Be frustrated about a play call or a play?
I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying I think one of the goals for the Titans in this new hire was finding a guy that is gonna work well with Cam. And I think Robert Saleh and the clear, direct vision that he put out yesterday, and yes, it's just words at this point, and you really need to see it in action. But I think the clear, direct direction that Robert Saleh presented to the city when he was introduced, I think that is something that they really saw, I guess, when interviewing him, and saw that, hey, this guy can mesh well with our quarterback.
I think they might be more focused on Dable right now with Cam, honestly. Like, Blaine, you've seen enough of Brian Dable over the years. Like, you're running what he wants you to run. I mean, he is a guy that's, going to get his way, and it usually works out. That's not saying he's not a cool dude or anything. He's just a hard coach. So is Saleh, to a degree. So, I mean, obviously Saleh will be a part of things, and he's going to, like he said during the week, he's going to be with all three phases. But, like, as far as the one thing I think Saleh could help Cam with is he sees things from a defensive mind. And that's not something Cam's necessarily had in his ear, I would think, unless Denard's been talking to him some or was. But hearing things from a defensive coach's mind during the week, because when you're young, all you're thinking about is what you can do and the plays you can make, what you can do with your talent. But you don't think about what the other side is seeing necessarily. and what they feel they can take away from you. So I think that's going to be a big boost for him.
Yeah, also probably, a lot of those coaches and some players, and it can be misconstrued. I think that's, I want my quarterback to be confident and somewhat stubborn in his way, as long as he has an ear open and always is open to getting coached. Because to get to this point, you have to have that. I think that's what you could kind of read through body language with Saleh he's got an air of confidence about him. And I like that. And you'll see how that matches up. One thing that has to be, everybody's talking about, Cam. The team is not just about Cam. But obviously, you want to make sure you get your young quarterback on the right stage. But he has to take into the coaching. And it's not just, Saleh. It'll be, Dable and whoever else is his quarterback's coach and everybody else around him. So that's the part. When you start talking about, some of the guys didn't respect some of the coaches in there, that's a tough pill for me to swallow, because it's almost, you have to have respect. Now, you may not believe in some of the things that they're coaching you up on, and maybe you're wrong and they're right, and vice versa on certain instances, but you got to respect them and try to do your best you can. So I'm interested to see how he takes it on, but I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. It doesn't matter if he's a defensive coach. I think Saleh's smart enough to understand he's got to have a relationship, but he doesn't have to be the one telling him every freaking single thing that he's supposed to be doing. I mean, that's micromanaging, and then you'll end up tripping yourself there. Anybody knows about if you're a manager and you're micromanaging, how much then everybody's looking over their shoulder. You don't want guys like that in the locker room. So.
One thing that Robert Saleh said yesterday, and something I've heard you say a ton, we hit on it a little bit right after the presser, but I want to go back and listen to this and then get your thoughts on it again, is Saleh describing his coaching philosophy when it comes to analytics and how much he involves the feel for the game versus what the book tells him to do. Because we know that in this day and age of the NFL, that analytics can tend to take a dominant role in head coaching decisions in game. I kind of liked what Saleh had to say yesterday. We'll play that for you next, and Blaine, I'll get your thoughts on it when we come back. This is Cover 2 on 104.5 The Zone, brought to you by All Four Seasons Garage Doors.
Good afternoon from the Circus Sports of the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Ross Johnston. In a wild NFL move, Tom Pelissero reported that the Vikings are firing general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, who has held that position with Minnesota since 2022. The Vikings also announced that longtime executive Rob Brzezinski will handle all of their operations for the 2026 draft. We've got a top 10 rivalry matchup tonight in college hoops with number 7 Michigan State hosting number 3 Michigan in East Lansing at 7 p.m. Also tomorrow, Tennessee and Vanderbilt both host SEC matchups. The number 18 Commodores will face off against 11-9 Ole Miss in Nashville with tip set for 5 p.m. And the Vols will look for their third straight win as they face off with Auburn in Knoxville. Tip-off is scheduled for 7:30 p.m. Central in that one, and you can listen to Vol Network's broadcast of the game right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repair, waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans of Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome back into Cover 2 on 104.5 The Zone, brought to you by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. I'm Joseph Bonanno alongside the hitman Blaine Bishop.
And the John
and
Stone.
Ross Johnstone back in the control room producing the show,
That is
making
not how
the
we
things
pronounce
go.
your last name. He is on the phone. I think it's Johnston. Yeah.
But I think Ron Saleh calls him John Stone. Slane his nickname.
He put him in the boom boom room and gave him John Stone?
I don't know. Ross, did you go in the boom boom room? I know he's on the phone right now. We'll make him do a million things at once.
They had Mr. Saleh on the boom boom room.
Did have Mr. Saleh in the boom boom room.
Yeah.
And he goes by Bob. That's his nickname.
He goes by Bob.
That's his nickname. He told us. He said all of his Middle Eastern friends call him by his whitest name, which is Bob, while all of his white friends from Michigan, where he grew up, calls him by his Middle Eastern name, Jalil.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's he's like it's a weird situation, but that's just so. Coach Bob leading the Titans and Coach Bob or Coach Robert Saleh met.
It's just like calling you Michael.
Yeah, my middle name.
Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, no, I don't like that.
You don't like Rob?
Michael? Or I'd stick with Joseph.
Well,
I'm just not used to people calling me Michael.
Michael?
See, like you told me.
It's okay.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, my middle name is Elwood.
Elwood. But you went by Woody growing up.
Yeah, Woody. I've had Woody spread the word. Yeah, I used to say the ladies gave me that name. So,
oh, yeah?
Yeah, so, now.
I wonder why.
Yeah, that's when it all started.
That's just when it all started?
So it was a nickname, and really, I was really fat as a baby. I was 12 pounds. And they start calling me Woodchuck. Woodchuck Chuck.
Woodchuck Chuck?
Yeah, so that kind of stuck and it became Woody, and then it was off to the races, man. Yeah.
Well, Coach Bob.
All the way until I got to the pros, by the way. Even in college and high school, they called me Woody Bishop. That wasn't even my real name.
And then that's where the hitman took over because you got moved to safety, and then you had to adapt. And,
oh man, I didn't.
So was there a singular hit in practice that made the nickname, or was it just over time you were just lighting people up? Was it like a dude ran a little post over the middle and bam, or was it
I wish I had a great story for you. But how about this? I will tell this part of the story is that really the hitman came alive in practice my rookie year, and I got tired of getting, body slammed all the time doing gunner on punt. Punting there, double teaming you. And, the guys started laughing at me. And most, college players come in the league thinking, all right, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be decent. And I just I'm getting tired of getting my butt beat. I say it like that. So this day, I said, this is the last day that this is ever going to happen again. And so they slammed me again and threw me out of bounds. And I told them to line their MF butt up again, and somebody's about to pay. Hence then started the hitman, Before that, I was the quiet bird and just go about my business and do my job.
Yeah.
And once that happened, it kind of changed. And then it really what happened, you're watching film the rest of the day of that practice and how I ran around because I was pissed off. I said, I need to find a way to be pissed off every time I step foot on this field or I'm not going to accept it. So then, yeah, because I could see it in myself like, dang, man, I'm running around like I really want to get some.
Tasmanian
elevated your game there a little bit.
Yeah, so that's what happened. Then it became, oh, Blaine, you need to slow it down in practice. It became that. Yeah, literally a year later. Yeah.
If I was going over the middle, Joseph, I would do the possession catch, and man, you just catch it, fall down.
And if I saw the hitman, I saw the hitman coming across the field while I'm about to make a catch, yep, I'm going straight to the ground.
You got to catch it and fall down. Then Blaine's
It was only when it was live. The pros, eventually it starts, you got to tap.
Yeah.
You should ask Dyson about some of those.
Oh, about some of the hits?
Man, just ask him. What he thought.
Next time I talk to Dyson, I'm going to ask him.
I don't think I ever recall hitting Dyson. Really.
I'm going to ask him what his scariest moment looking up and seeing Blaine Bishop on the other side of him.
I don't think he'll say there was ever a scary moment. I can't remember a few things, but it was really just telling him what route he was about to run when we were.
You were that kind of. Hey, I watch film. Watch this.
I'd be like, oh man, dang man, yes, this split right here, man. Y'all always run this curl, man. I'm gonna pick it if he throw it to you. I'm talking like that before the play.
That was
and then he runs a curl and they don't throw it to him.
See, I think that's
my style because I couldn't be like, yeah, I'm faster than you. I'm going to torch you. I'd be like, yeah, I watch more film than you. That's all I got.
I genuinely think that that is like the best kind of trash talk is when you can sit there and be like, oh, I know what you're about to do. Yeah. Like I watch film and I can tell you the exact play, the exact route where you're about to run and watch me break it up and watch me influence his play because I know what you're about to do.
That's
because.
Then they're coming off the field and they're like, Coach, they're calling out our stuff.
Right, exactly.
It's like playing against like Luke Kuechly. They're like, man, he knows everything that we're doing.
I mean, it's not like the wide receiver could go and change the play right there. Like, what is he going to do? Tell his quarterback, different play. It's like you're kind of stuck right there. And then you're looking at the guy across from you and he knows exactly what moves you're about to make.
Yeah, man, I had to have the cheat code, man. There's no way, man. Yeah.
I
didn't want to get no foot race with Dyson. What are you talking about, man? He ran like a 4.3, man.
Well, and by the way, that is the worst position for a receiver to be in when you know that basically your route is dead on a play for whatever reason. Like you're not receiver, you just get pissed. We want the ball.
Because at that point you don't even want to sell it because you're like, well, you know it's not coming to me. You know we're not doing.
I'd run a double move out of spite. I would
just change the play. That's a good way.
That's what happens in the game sometimes. That's why you be like, why did the receiver keep running this piece of game, man? He knew the route, man. I thought we were on the same page. I was going to kind of double. That's what happens. He'd be like, oh man. Yeah, we're watching it outside.
So anytime we're sitting there watching a football game, and we see the wide receiver run a route, and it's just like that didn't make any sense. It's because the DB was trash talking him, telling me he knew exactly what he was going to run. Route.
He tried to make an adjustment. Him and the quarterback weren't on the
same page. All seriousness though, Blaine, this is my favorite thing. Maybe Devontae Adams does because I've heard him talk about this, and he's one of my favorite receivers to watch because of the route running. He said. When he would have a route, say he's got like a comeback, if they're sitting on it and they play it well, he would run a double move if he doesn't get the ball. So basically, he breaks out of his comeback, looks back, and the ball is already out. He runs the double move because he was like, I don't want to give these guys any feeling that they're sitting on me during the game.
Smart,
it's like just stuff like that.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, that's smart because then you'll have that little bit of hesitation when you think you do know it, and that little bit of hesitation will give him the crease to make the catch. Yeah, the next go around. Yeah, so these are individual battles that go on out there that are fun.
Which wide receiver or offensive skill player did you get? Like, do you recall like a time where you got into their head like quick, and then it was just you and them all game? Just you kind of had them in hell a little bit.
Well, I didn't do a lot of talking like that. I would prefer that was at practice.
At practice,
but in games, I'm not telling the wide receiver what they're running. I'm just going to.
They're just gonna go jump it.
Yeah, so I didn't do a lot of talking unless they try to start talking crap to me.
Which wide receiver talked the most that you remember?
A lot of receivers don't want to talk a lot, Hines Ward. Hines Ward was a pretty good talker. really good players. The best ones that I was guarding like that were wide receivers. Running back Marshall Falk was really good running routes too. He could have been a receiver. Jimmy Smith. There was some really good ones out there, but now nobody's really talking smack when I was out there.
Oh. Because they knew the hitman was right there.
I don't know, man.
They knew the reputation and they didn't want to feel it.
Well, it takes a different breed to be like someone who just does it all game.
Yeah,
like Big Jeff.
Because you got to have cardio for that.
Yeah, I was more about yelling at my own teammates about the plays that we were doing and who's supposed to be where. And I'm all the way on the other side of the field. You're supposed to be in that gap. What are you doing? I mean, I was that. That was, you have to train yourself. It is exhausting, as he's mentioned there, Ross, but you got to start training yourself. And then people were like, dang, man, do you ever be quiet about what all the plays that we're checking to and moving to and they're always thinking about it? No. See, I was just talking real fast. That the whole thing. But hey, man, get ready for the reversal. When they bust back, we're going to go over here. Then when they come back, we'll go here. And they go, oh, focus. Bang. Now I'm right to my keys. Let's get this play rolling.
Well, see, and you need a guy like that on the defense because if you don't, and you're lined up wrong, like you're pretty much screwed because
especially for the safeties, middle linebacker, the guys that are in tune, the quarterback's the defense, naturally the center and the quarterback on offense.
Well, because I mean, in the NFL, like timing is everything, and being one step out of place. I mean, that's a difference between an interception and a touchdown right there.
Yes, it is.
So that's why if I'm Robert Saleh, I'm hiring somebody off the street. I don't care who it is. I'm hiring somebody, our designated trash talker on the sideline. They follow the ball wherever it's at, offense or defense. You don't get a break. And you are on that sideline. Whoever's over there on the other team, you're just talking the whole game.
Sounds like you want this job, Ross.
I'd take it.
Yeah. With the trash talker?
Yeah, the sideline trash talker.
No, I'm not. But like, if I got paid to do it, I would do it. I'm a fan.
Hey, Ross will start making study guides on each team about. Hey, okay, number 35. I can say this about his mama. Number 36. I could say this. I could see Ross getting into that job.
I talk to those DBs because they always want to talk back.
Yeah, that's everybody thinks all the DBs are the same. I wasn't like that. I preferred if you didn't say anything, but when you did start talking, oh man, you brought a whole.
You just opened up the floodgates, man.
Another level of I'm about to shut your trap up real quick, bro. We're not playing that kind of game, man. I don't know who you talking to. Yeah, I was real big on the respect stuff because some guys would be up there saying crazy stuff. You're like, man, who you talking to? You're not talking to me.
You ain't talking to me.
Yeah.
Well, a guy who did a lot of talking yesterday, Robert Saleh. I teased this before we switched over to the second hour.
You might have to tease it again, brother.
Don't worry. Talking about field the game versus analytics and how he'd make some of those decisions when it comes to fourth downs and whether or not to go for it, and how much by the analytics book he'll follow and how he'll know when to follow it. We'll dive into that next. Plus, we'll get Larissa on the phone. Hang tight, Larissa, through the break. We'll get your first thing coming up next here on Cover 2, brought to you by All Four Seasons Garage Doors.
Well, we're already past the new year, and your new year resolution, at least mine, is always to get back into the gym and lose a little bit of those LBs, and that is weight loss. The approach to weight loss at Edge Peptide and Hormone Therapy is a little bit different. They make sure that all patients have extensive lab work and face-to-face conversation in office with our nurse practitioner to create a customized treatment plan tailored to your specific needs. They use only U.S.-based FDA-audited compounding pharmacies because knowing where your peptides come from always matters. And Edge walks you through the process with guiding your treatment, answering your questions, and supporting you along the way. You also get to enjoy access to their in-body scanner to track weight loss and make sure you're maintaining that muscle mass that you've gained through your workout. Yes, as well as you get to lower your A1C, keeping your cravings in check, prioritizing protein, and having someone guide your journey from start to finish. So call the team at Edge Peptide for all your wellness questions at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878, or you can check them out online at edgepeptide.com.
Welcome back into Cover 2 on 104.5 The Zone, brought to you by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Joseph Bonanno alongside the hitman Blaine Bishop. And let's go to the phones to kick off this segment as Larissa has been patiently waiting from Nashville. Larissa, you're on with Cover 2. How are you?
I'm outstanding. I would wait for you guys for a while. Not forever. But happy day, Feliz Viernes to everybody, and I hope everyone is still continuing to stay warm. And I'm glad that some people have power, and I hope that the rest are still working on it. But real quickly, I also wanted to just kind of give a little light to Mrs. Saleh and to anybody, when your spouses, your partners, your loved ones, your family, moving is a lot because my pops was in the Air Force. So it was just two of us, my sister and I. So the fact that we could go from north, south, east to west to Germany to Japan, and it happens on a dime. So all the family members that are part of that lifestyle, if you have a partner or a loved one that if they're not in sports or whatever they may do that they have to relocate, give them a little hug and some little light on that. So, but with that said, I actually just wanted to mention that I came in on half of the press conference yesterday, and what I took away from him is, he's already working. The man has been working before he even hit the building. And there will definitely no longer be a question about who the Tennessee Titans are, clearly. He is seemingly a man of very self-awareness, very strategic, very well-balanced, which already seems to be contagious for the community because the Titan fans do deserve this. This is a great fan base, and this is great for this team. You had players that showed up, and they are ready to battle for this man. They are ready to battle and win with him. And you got to get excited about this, folks. But with that said, everybody stay warm. I'm going to hang up and listen.
All right. Thank you, Larissa. Appreciate the message. And yeah, you know what? You're right. I think there were about 10 or so players that I saw's names reported that were standing in the back of the room with Robert Saleh, as well as a couple coaches that were being retained that were back there with them as they watched him and his introduction, which I guess that shows, and I'm sure that would have happened with any coach, but at least it shows a little bit of the buy-in that these players are going to have for this guy, which, like I said yesterday, right after, you can see why he was so easy to sell to the decision makers in the Titans front office that made the hire, because he comes off very clear, very direct, very confident, and commands the room very well, which is all good and said in a press conference setting. But again, we need to wait and see until we see it on the field. But I do like the direction that this team is going.
Oh, no doubt about it. Nail it on the hire. So I think they're in a good place. They won't be where they were, I guess, the last 2 years, not to be trying to throw Callahan under the bus, but, someone with experience, whether they won or lost, but they know what to expect. They know how to run a practice. They know how to lead, know how to, train their coaches to then filter down to their players. So we're talking about things that we all took for granted. At least I did, that would happen just normally. And that's not so easy to say these days. So naturally, we want to say, hey, we believe you. We trust in the organization and Saleh and crew. Now we got to start seeing the production and see the new players they bring in with the young players, the nucleus they have, and then go from there. And hopefully the sky's the limit. I think they'll be very competitive in middling ground, even without even thinking about who they drafted and who they signed as free agents, just because of their ilk and background as coaches.
One specific thing that Saleh said yesterday, and we'll play the clip for you here, talking about following the analytics book versus the feel of the game when making some of these decisions, which we know the decision-making was a big point of discussion last year under Callahan, because he kind of seemed a little lost in terms of, when to challenge. Remember the whole thing about not knowing the rules earlier in the season. And, you just kind of want a coach after that gives you confidence that he's going to be confident in his decision-making during the game. And I really liked what he said about knowing the feel for the game versus following the analytics books. And I'll let you hear it for yourself. This is what Robert Saleh had to say about that in his press conference yesterday.
Yeah, analytics is just a gathering of information. We've been doing it forever, but there's this new age of football, right, where there's more numbers, there's more information, and I think there's still it's all still within the moment. The new age of football is really a new set of information, but it's still our responsibility to make the decision that's best for the football team. It's not as simple as a book is telling you whether or not to go for it. The book doesn't account for weather. It doesn't account for whether or not Jeffrey Simmons is up against their third string guard. It doesn't account for any of that. So there's still decisions that need to be made, and we can get more detail later on how I go through that process. But it's information. It's information that we welcome. But at the end of the day, we still have to take all that information and make the decision that's best for the team.
Blaine, I know when talking with you about following some of those analytic push decisions in game, you always bring back to me, you got to understand the situation that you're in the game. Hearing Robert Saleh kind of mimic those words that I've heard you say so many times.
But you didn't believe me, but now he said you believe him.
No, I believed you. I believed you. I believed you enough. I'm glad to hear that that the head coach.
I'm the guy that knows that thing.
I'm glad to hear that the guy we have running the team now is kind of in that same sentiment of trusting his gut in the situation of the football game rather than, just going for it just because the book says go for it.
Yeah, I mean, those are all tough decisions. They're all coin toss type decisions in the moment. Every situation is his own situation, as he brought, a couple circumstances into play, whether you're going against an elite guard or, we have an elite player to all those things. I just put that all in a box called the human element. The human element of making a decision, you take in all the information, doesn't mean you're going to make that decision when it says go for it and you're backed up on your 30 and it's 3rd and 1, or 4th and 1 and you go for it. It's something, Sean Payton or somebody did that the other game and I go, oh man, I don't know if I would have done that. And he got the first down, right? Okay, kept the drive alive. So it's just, some of these things, it depends on the strength of your team, the confidence of that group. Do you believe do they believe in the actual play we're going to run? How's the momentum and the flow of the game going? Is it in our favor? Do we have the crowd behind us? Do we going to use that as extra energy? What are the circumstances if we don't? Do I have a good enough defense that can hold them, that can withstand it? Not just this, if they turns the ball over, is down the road, that extra possession, extra plays. So there's a whole bunch of metrics you can kind of look at, and there's no right or wrong way. And I think that's what he's talking about, is you taking the information, you try to make the best decision possible in the moment, in game, with all those situations. And hopefully it always works out mostly on your side. You're never going to be 100%.
As a player, what does that do for them when you have a coach that exudes that much confidence in his decision making and trust that, his view of the team that's on the field?
Hand. You got to trust each other. It's not a one-way street when you get to the pros. I mean, he said it in the presser earlier. We're talking to grown men now here. So you want to get that trust, and you build trust by seeing how they take in coaching. They're listening to you, the dialogue, and then you build up that kind of trust, and it's unbreakable then no matter what happens in a game, because they're going to be bad moments by players all over the places. Now, how you respond to it because of coaching, I trust you. You're not worried about, I'm going to get yanked, the fear of failing again, because it's going to keep happening. I mean, so I just think that trust is built with communication. Is how you communicate to each and individual player, because everybody likes to be spoken in different manners, and got to understand, what makes them tick is what he said. What makes them tick, and that's powerful right there, because now you're not putting everybody in the same box. You're putting them in their own box, because everybody's out their own individual. Got some breaking news or something?
No,
I see you getting all fidgety over there.
Not some breaking news. I was gonna.
Oh my God! Yeah. I was like, oh, is it an ant on your back or something?
No,
You said something perked up.
I was gonna see if Ross could listen to this because I can't remember which cut he was talking about this. And Ross, I think it's the one where it says Saleh on the best style of leadership. But he talked about what you just said is creating that personal connection with his players. And I think the word he said was they're not just a number on a jersey. And you have to learn to connect with them on a deeper realm than, okay, I'm just your coach. This is what Robert Saleh had to say yesterday on the best style of leadership in his opinion.
Authenticity. I think, when you look at when you talk to players, they're grown men. They want to be treated like men. And they want to have discussions man to man, and they want to be told the truth. They always want to be they want to eliminate gray. They want things black and white. They want to know where they stand. They want the truth. They want to be held accountable. But most importantly, I think they want to know that you care more about them than just their jersey number. And I think that's very important with regards to connecting with these guys and understanding who they are, what makes them tick, and how to help them achieve their goals, not just on the field, but off the field. And I think that takes a lot of work that's beyond the film room. And so when you talk about my leadership qualities, it is important for us to connect with our guys. It is important to know what makes them all tick. And most importantly, obviously, it's our responsibility as coaches and our obligation as coaches to help them get to where they want to go.
I mean, that right there, talking about building relationships and building that trust between coach and player and vice versa. He seems like he kind of knows the direction or his best way of how to attack that coming into a new situation.
Yeah, I just have to say this. A lot of people's like, oh, how can you be excited about a coach when he's only had one opportunity? He's with one of the worst organizations, if not the worst organization in NFL, and the circumstances dictated that throughout the whole process. And you're going to judge one-time opportunity to be a head coach, by the way, to then think that he is not a good coach. And I think that's being very small-minded. You got to look at all the tea leaves and the circumstance around that and what happened there. Guess what? Nick Saban got fired from the Cleveland Browns. People forget that. Bill Belichick, as well, and his DC was Nick Saban. Yeah, they got to, and guess what? Now they're both the greatest coaches at the college level and the pro level. Mm-hmm. So everybody's going to fire when you first start off, but it depends on who you with, see, and how everything came together. So we will hopefully think that things can come together with his style of leadership with what this team needs. And that's how you kind of make those decisions. And I think it was a good one. I was kind of a solid guy all the way around. Maybe I would prefer McDaniel as the OC, but hey, Daboll is definitely qualified, and he plays around and calls plays and, around the strengths of the player at quarterback. So, yeah, they should be excited. I know it's not probably a big wow for a lot of people across the country, but here locally, it should be huge. I think they did the right thing here.
Well, I'm going to tell you, too, and again,
I didn't say this about Callahan, by the way.
Yeah, I know this. I know this is tough to say because, you can only go based off what actually happened. Right. But that Jets team in 2023, if their quarterback hadn't got hurt, would have been outstanding. I'm not saying Super Bowl or anything like that, but the way he had his defense playing, the quarterback that he did bring in who got hurt, that would have been an outstanding team. Now, it didn't work out that way, and that might be why we even have a chance to get him today, because I think he'd still be with the Jets had he made the playoffs because it's been so long for them. But to go back to those two clips real quick and what we were talking about with the decisions of the game, I think the last part of that is whatever decision you make, you got to be confident with it, and you want your players to trust it and believe in it, because every offensive player is going to want to go for it no matter the situation. They believe in themselves, and they don't want to, go off the field. But whether you go for it or not, it's the coach trusting that you're making the right decision and then having the buy-in from the players that hey, what we are doing right now is going to help us later on in this game at some point or right now. You know what I mean? And I feel like last year, we can all think of countless times where they're not going for it or they are, and it seems like there's a little kind of wishy-washy on the sideline.
Hesitation.
You can feel it from your couch watching the game. Like he was, he brought that quote up yesterday. You can feel it at home watching the game. They don't feel confident in this. So I feel like that will be a lot different this year, and I'm excited to see that.
615-737-1045 if you want in to talk about Coach Saleh, the Titans, or anything going on around the NFL. Let's go ahead and get Cedric, who wants to talk about the new coach. Cedric, you're on Cover 2 with myself and Blaine Bishop.
Hey, what's up, fellas? Hey, we might as well call the division the AFC Shanahan's, man. This is the second defensive coordinator that used to coach for Kyle Shanahan. I think it's a great thing for us with Jacksonville, those guys running the Shanahan-McVay system. We've got a head coach now that has gone up against the mastermind, the godfather of that offense, that will know how to defend Liam Cohen and company, and the Houston Texans for that matter. And speaking of the Texans, I think we can look at the success that the Texans had, the way that they built that defense. You heard Saleh talk yesterday about wanting guys that are long, athletic, fast, when he was talking about the type of player he wants. Look at what the Texans did when they rebuilt that team. And, lastly, man, I didn't know this, and I hadn't really thought about this before, but with him having an offensive background, playing tight end, wanting to be an offensive coach originally when you hear his story, man, it really makes sense why this guy's so bought into being a great defensive coach and why he understands offenses the way he does it. He can adjust and make great in-game adjustments, man. So I'm super excited, man. Blaine, if you'll touch on that, man, I'd love to hear your perspective. Y'all have a great weekend.
Appreciate you, Cedric.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that last part. I didn't know some of that part of that. But a lot of the elite coaches, I remember when people were trying to talk me into coaches, they wanted me to do the offensive side first because he said you want to understand how they think. We know you can pick up on defense. That's easy. You've been on that side of the ball. But we want to know how you think because if you want to go to where you're trying to get to, being a DC and then eventually a head coach, you got to understand the offensive side and how those elite coaches develop their game plans and how they strategically attack certain styles of defense. So that wasn't abnormal to me to hear that. Just the fact that he understands the Shannon tree, so he knows how to stop it, at least slow it down, slow that train down. That's all you need.
And then he can bring, like you mentioned earlier, to Cam Ward. He can show Cam Ward on offensively how to attack a really good defense like the ones that he is used to bringing, at least over there with the 49ers and hopefully now here with the Tennessee Titans. So,
yeah.
Do you think people are even going to look at that last game anymore this year when they got killed by Seattle 49ers?
Some people will. I don't think they should.
I don't think they should at all.
Because at that point in the season with as many injuries as they had on their defense, yeah, you might need to look at it a little bit, but at some point those injuries come to bite you. I mean, look at Green Bay, what happened with them offensively against the Bears. Eventually the injuries caught up and their offense slowed down in that second half against the Bears, and the Bears were able to pull off that miraculous comeback. For the 49ers, he put on a show defensively throughout the season, just taking advantage of anything he could to work around the loss of so many key players like a Fred Warner, like a Nick Bosa. So I'm sure there will be some people that'll look at it and be like, oh, look, he gave up all those points and got blown out by Seattle and blah, 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 blah. But
look what he did against Philly.
You also got to think, at some point, your roster comes in, the roster construction will come and bite you in the ass. It just caught up to him, I think, at that point.
Well, my thing, too, is now, I know Chris Shula didn't get a head coaching job, but they didn't do much better against Seattle, and I don't think they had the type of injuries that San Francisco was dealing with. So Saleh is a guy that, when you look at the Jets, they had great defensive talent. Well, now you've also seen him do it without all his guys in there, too, defensively. And like Blaine's saying, he's got all this experience being with his two best friends in the world are Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur. Two guys that know the other side of the ball.
Two offensive minds.
Yeah, and I get it, from a fan perspective, and just with eyeballs and all the human element. Once again, don't get caught up in a one game at the end of the season. Get caught up in the whole body of work. That tells you who you are, not one game. It's just like being an athlete. Just because you failed at one, if not, then Darnold would have never even came back to play. So we can't get caught up in the moment. Granted, the San Francisco's defense did not look as good as it did all season in that game for whatever reason, especially when you play a team multiple times like that. So it's always tough. But, I think his body of work tells you that in the right situation, he can become a really, really good head coach, let alone defensive coach. So we all know that. So I'm not too much worried about it. Like, how about this? Give this example. Then we should have never hired Vrabel. He was 32nd in the league
as a bad defensive coordinator.
See, so that means you can't be an elite head coach. And we all know that Vrabel can coach, right? As a head coach, as a leader. And I think this guy's got some of those traits that he had. And you got to walk around with an air of confidence about you and how you're doing things that just certain people just don't feel comfortable around. And it makes them start feeling comfortable being uncomfortable. That is exactly who he is. And so I should be. I'm excited about it. I'm sure people wasn't jumping up for joy when we hired Vrabel, but people don't want to remember that part of it, right? Like it's just
revisionist history.
After he got here and then Coach of the Year, he didn't start there.
Yep.
Well, no one wants to go back to their takes if they were wrong. Right. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Well, if you in this industry long enough, you're never going to get everything 100%. That's impossible. I could be totally wrong on Saleh right now, but my belief that he will be.
Just from what you've seen.
Yes.
Yeah.
From what I see, because I got more intel, because I've seen him at work. I've seen it.
Yep.
You're going to have some bad games, just like the players going to have bad games.
Yep. So
I don't think Cam Moore should even listen to Dayball based on what Emmanuel Ocho.
Oh my gosh! Don't even bring that up.
Let's go to break.
Oh my gosh! We'll talk about the NFL salary cap growing even more coming up next. You hear that music, Blaine? It means it's the final segment on a Friday.
Oh, I don't know. It says keep me home tonight.
And you know what? After this, we're going to go home for the weekend.
And we're going to be in for, oh, no, I'm going to get cabin fever.
Oh,
we getting stuck?
I don't know. The snow's coming down, though, and I don't like it.
Oh, man.
Go away. I've had enough winter weather.
I went out to eat. It looked like I was at a concert. Everybody was so happy to be out. I was like, oh, man, this is great.
Loudest restaurant you've ever been in.
Oh, man, it was awesome, man.
So, Tom Pelissero, about an hour ago, dropping a little bit of news on the salary cap, saying that the NFL has informed teams today that it is projecting a 2026 salary cap in the range of $301 to $305 million per club. This would represent another significant jump from this year's $279 million, and nearly $100 million than the $208 cap hit in 2022. So just think about that. 4 years ago, in 4 years, the cap number has jumped up over $100 million.
Did you say how much is increased yearly? Typically, it's around just creeps up. I don't know if it was like 25
last
million
year.
This year
So from 2024 to 2025, it was about $24 million.
And you're saying this one's about 30 or so?
This one's probably about 26, anywhere from 22 to 26.
Okay.
So somewhere around there. So about in the same range.
Yeah.
But just think about it. 10 years ago, the cap number in the NFL was $155 million. Now we're talking about over $300 million that these teams get to spend. And I know, obviously, contracts get more expensive. Players want to bring more money, especially with inflation and stuff.
They're printing all this money, too.
But, I mean, it is just still crazy to think that in just 10 years, it has almost doubled what it was in 2016. And 2016, again, doesn't feel that long ago.
Well, it kept going up, except what? Did it go up COVID year? I'm trying to remember.
So in 2020 to 2021, it went down by $16 million.
Yeah. But then did it go up after that?
And then it jumped up. It jumped up from 182 to 208.
Oh.
So, I mean, just after 1 year, I mean, it was right back on track
So I think
where it was.
Projected it to be this way,
So
money producing business, man, that's for sure.
So with that,
best league in the world,
with that official range, I think that'll put the Titans in that $100 million range. Now, if they make some cuts,
as far as space,
as far as how much they can spend
this season, don't have to spend it all, but you do have to spend how much percentage?
I think
85, 90.
Don't ask me about cap stuff. It's not my forte.
I always feel like, regardless of Titans or any team, and they got, this cap space. I'm like, but did they spend it all? Because they have to spend a certain level, and it's a high number of percentage how much they have to spend of the cap.
Well, you would think like this year they would.
I don't even like that rule. Like if I was an owner, you can't tell me how much to spend.
Yeah.
Well, 89% of your cap.
89.
Yeah, you
that's
have to have
high number
over a 4 year period. So.
What if I can do it in a cheaper way, and then guess what? I get to put the extra dough in my pocket.
I think part of the reason they do that is to keep teams from tanking. Like you can't just
take it.
You can't just go not sign anybody and plan a roster full of
you gotta play them off.
rookies.
I mean, you gotta sign a couple people, but I mean, man, you gotta it's just like some of these freaking interviews, this Rooney Rule crap. I mean, so yeah, you can dupe them that way too.
But this is probably where teams get in the thing if they pay somebody a little too much money that maybe didn't deserve that much money or whatever. You get in those situations.
I think we like to call that the we suck tax, where you overpay for players that might not deserve that.
So does that apply to us right now? Are we going to have a we suck tax this off season?
I
don't think we should.
In the last couple years, I would say yes. This year, I'm not so sure.
Well, you'd have to say yes. Who did we sign?
I know a lot of people thought Dan Moore was part of that when you signed him for his big old contract.
Hindsight on this one, obviously, but Snead would probably go into that now.
Snead's another one.
I said I would never trade as much as I liked him because of the knee. He's a track athlete, man. When you playing corner like that, man, no way. Knee, bye.
Need.
So hopefully the Titans do not need the We Suck tax in 2026.
Whatever can help us win. Doesn't matter.
No, we back tax. That's what we got.
The
we back tax.
We back
The
that.
We Back tax. You heard it here first on Cover 2. It's been a fun week. Zach Lyons will be back from his trip from Mobile next week. I will be in Las Vegas on Monday and Tuesday, and then San Francisco the rest of the week as 3HL heads to the Senior Bowl. And Blaine and Zach will get you covered back here at the studio next week during this time slot. I appreciate you, Blaine, and thanks for having me on.
No doubt. But in the meantime,
in between time,
peace.